You are now tuned into Beautiful You, Authentic You Radio. Here are your hosts, Irena Tenen and Nakia P. Evans. Beautifully living, authentically in Christ.
Welcome back to another edition of the Beautiful You, Authentic You radio show. I am co-host Irena Tenen, and my lovely co-host Nakia P. Evans will be joining us momentarily. I'm excited, as I am every single week, about our show. I look forward to Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time because we always have amazing guests. And as I've shared the past couple of weeks, I have a collaboration, my very first one, that will be releasing on Tuesday, January 16th. So our last couple of guests and our next couple of guests are actually co-authors in that book. I'm so excited. I think the book is going to be amazing. I've read it cover to cover. I'm sure it's going to be an international bestseller. But I'm so excited that tonight we're also going to have two amazing guests. With me tonight is Jekyll. Jekyll, are you on the line?
I am. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing? We're so happy to have you with us tonight.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So you're going to be a co-author in Reflections I Wish I'd Known, releasing on Tuesday. I'm so excited. Oh, my God, I'm so excited.
I'm excited too.
So tell us a little bit about who Jekyll is.
I am a mother of three. I'm a registered nurse. I live in Southern Maryland, and I am an avid motorcycle rider. I guess most people would consider me a biker.
Biker, okay. So you're going to be in this book. Is this your first published work?
This is, yes.
This is. I couldn't remember. I thought so, but I wasn't sure. I know that when I solicited for co-authors, I asked the question on my questionnaire, have you published a book before? And I purposely chose the majority of the authors to be first-time authors. So, yay, you're about to be
I'm excited.
So excited. So just a little bit now, tell everything, about your story. Tell us just a little bit about your story.
Well, my story, the title of my chapter is My Home. And I talk a lot about the dynamics of my family up and how those dynamics played a role in different phases of my life. And I guess it talks about some of the trials that I went through. And, I talk a little bit about teen pregnancy, suicide. I also talk a little bit about self-esteem, issues like that.
Oh, okay. Now, I read your story. I read all the stories, and, yours, and I seem like I say this for quite a few of them. Yours was one of the ones that really touched me. Just reading it, it was like, oh, wow. I was reading and then you go through, I went through, all these different kind of emotions, like sad, and then 1 minute I was like, oh, sad, and then angry, and then, I just went through all kind of emotions. So I did want to ask you, I think I've always wanted to ask you, why did you decide to title it My Home?
I think because in the beginning of my story, I talk about how I never fit into my family, and how that, I think, played a big role in how I became the person that I am. And I think I finally settled into myself, and God played a big role in that for me. And I feel like once I found him and found the niche of where I am, I finally felt like I was home. I finally felt like
I love that. I'm glad I asked you that. I've always wondered. I was like, I wonder why she titled it that. But, oh, my God, I love that. It's almost like you came full circle.
Exactly.
And now I am finally home.
Exactly.
Oh, my God, I love that. Oh, wow. Okay. And so now, why do you feel that you're ready, or that you were ready to share your story now?
I think the past year or two, I've gone through a lot of transitions in my life, and a part of it I didn't even talk about in the story. But I had an accident on my motorcycle about 2 years ago, and during that phase where I was recovering, I realized a lot about myself, and I realized also that I have a voice, and I'm not the only person who may have gone through a lot of the struggles that I've gone through. And I think that sometimes sharing your story can help other people get through some of the difficult times in their lives.
I totally agree. And I think that I applaud you and all the authors because, to me, when you write, it's kind of like therapy. Like, this is no longer going to hold me hostage. You know, it's like, I can move on from this.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
So I applaud you for, because some people may never come to that. You know, like, I'm ready to share. I know it can help somebody else, so I'm going to tell it. Some people may never come to that point. So, first of all, I thank God that you came to that point, because you can be free from your past, you know.
Right.
Also, reading the other stories, a couple of things that you mentioned, other ladies have gone through as well, as far as teen pregnancy, as far as suicidal thoughts. They've had that too, and it's like, but even though they shared that in common, the stories were still just totally, totally different. And it amazed me. Some of them I read, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know if I could have made it through that or survived that. You know, God, God don't put more on you than you can bear.
Exactly. It's amazing what, you know, he takes you through, and then how you come out on the other end. And I look back at some of it, and when I was writing the story, I was, like you said, I went through all these emotions as I was writing it, and I reached out to, you know, family in a way that I had never done before as I was, you know, writing it and telling the story, because I was going through all these emotions. But I also realized that, you know, he gave me these trials for a reason.
Right.
And if it wasn't for those, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. So
that's exactly right. And I think that I always say we have to go through so we can grow through. So
absolutely.
If you wouldn't have went through it, you wouldn't be where you are today. You wouldn't be able to title a chapter called My Home, you know? Exactly. So how do you feel about people knowing your story? Because when you write a story, you know, you're vulnerable. It's opening you up for everybody to know about you.
Yeah, that, when I was writing it, it just felt so cathartic that, you know, that part of it didn't surface until after it was written and I submitted it. And I realized that maybe I need to give some people a heads up.
Right.
Yeah, but I still felt like when I told people about it and I gave them a heads up, I also explained, this is my story. This is what I went through. This is through my eyes. This is my perception of my life.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
And they say our perception is our reality. So how we perceived it, that's how it happened to us. And I think that what people have to realize, other people, is, yes, they may have been a part of the story. Yes, they may have been an intricate part, maybe even caused some of whatever that went on, but it's still my story. It's my story, and if I want to tell it, I can tell it.
Exactly.
Right? You know,
and at the end of the day, that was pretty much how it, you know. So, yeah.
Right, and it has to be because quite frankly, that may be the reason some people don't share their story.
Right.
Well, I don't want to hurt my mom or dad or my aunt or, you know, or I just, well, no. So then with that, they're holding on to it probably forever.
Right.
Probably forever. They're never able to release it. So it takes a strong person to do that, because also you share with people that you're telling your story, but when they read it, they may still, you know, may feel some way, or you didn't have to say that part.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, the thing about me, and the one thing that has always been intricate in my identity, is that I'm a little bit of a rebel. You know, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to do it in such a way that I'm going to try to, harm anybody in the process.
Right.
And, and I'm going to try to make the process as easy as possible for, anybody that may be involved. But, that's just who I am.
And then the thing about it is that people that know you know that. They know that you're not going to deliberately, I'm going to say this so that I can hurt her, and I'm going to make sure I put this in that, they know, if they know you, then they know that you're not going to do that. You're not even that type of person.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about being a biker. How long have you been riding?
Oh, I've been riding for a little over 5 years now.
Oh, wow. And what got you started?
Oh, man, you have to read the story. Get into the story a little bit.
Oh, well, I know what got you started. But
well, honestly, what happened is that I was going through a difficult time in my marriage, and I had separated from my husband, and we decided that my kids were in high school, and I was moving to another state. And we decided that my kids were going to stay with my husband. And it was one of the most difficult decisions that I had to make in my life. So I had to I can't even tell the story without even hearing it.
Without even okay.
I had to find a way to deal with that.
Right.
And so what I said to myself was, I just had to figure out how I was going to live my life without my family anymore. So what I said to myself was, what is the one thing that you wanted to do that you couldn't do because you were married? And I said, I always wanted to learn to ride a motorcycle. So that same week, I went out, bought a motorcycle. Still didn't know how to ride one, but I went out and bought one. But within 2 weeks, I took a class, and I was on the road ever since.
Wow. And that takes courage, too, because you could have allowed not being with your children to really get you into a deep depression.
I went through a phase. I did
sure.
go through a phase, but I knew that I had to, I had to find something to get myself right.
Right.
So.
Right. So I think that is great that you found something, because some people may not. You know how you seek. You're seeking for something. I want to do something, but I don't know what it is.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
I don't like that. I try this. I don't like that. I try this. I don't. And some people will never get to the point where it's like they find something they love and end up being passionate about.
Right. I dove in with both feet, and it's crazy because when I talk about my home, the motorcycle community, the biker community, that's my home. That's where, so I'm accepted with open arms. The thing is, I fit in there because I don't fit in. And, that's one of those things where you don't have to fit. So, yeah.
I think that's awesome. That is just awesome. I love that. I do. I love that. Because everybody, I'm not going to say everybody, but the majority of people are the same. I mean, they think the same. They do the same stuff. I got to graduate from high school. And when I graduate from high school, I got to go to college. And then once I go to college, then I got to get married. And
I did all those things. Did all of those things, but in the end, it still wasn't for me. It was like, you're living this life that's not yours. You're living a life that you're supposed to live. You're being a person you're supposed to be. And then one day you wake up and realize, this is not who I am.
This is not me. Right. And see, the good thing is you did something about it.
Right.
Most people, and see, this also goes back to what people think. Most people probably would continue to live a life that's not for them, right? Concerned about what other people say. Well, I mean, I know your marriage didn't work out, but hypothetically, let's say it did. Let's say it did, but you were unhappy and you didn't want to remain. But you did because you don't want anybody to say, oh, wow, well, she got married.
I did that for 5 years. I stayed after I wanted to leave for years, and I stayed. And then one day, craziest story. I got a lot of crazy stories. But the craziest story, I was again, I talk about this a little bit in the book, but I was at a funeral. And that's when I walked out of the middle of the funeral, called my husband, told him I was leaving, and that's the day I left my husband. Craziest thing.
Wow. Oh, you know what? That you know what? When you think about it, that could have been kind of symbolic. Because
And I feel like it was. I always feel like he talks to me. I always feel like that. And I listen. And it's one of those things where you have to learn to listen. And I think for so long there was so much noise around that I couldn't hear him talking to me. But now I do. And I don't want to sound, a little strange when I say that.
It's the truth. It's the truth. I agree with that. And I think as mothers, our kids come first. So it's like everything comes first. Actually, we're always the last. We always put ourselves last. We put everybody and everything first, so we're not listening. We're focused on what we need to do for our kids, what we need to do for our spouse, what we need to do for our job, what we need, So it's like we're not listening to what's being said to us about us. So you have to get to a point where it's like, okay, it's got to be quiet in a funeral. That might be it, where you hear what it is that you need to do. But I just thought, I guess the first thing I thought when I heard, not when I read it, but when I heard it just now was that's how your life was, dead, right? You weren't happy, so you weren't living a life that you felt that you wanted to live. You were unhappy. And at a funeral is when you realize, I got to live.
This could be me one day.
Right. I have to live. And the only way I can do that is to do what I know that I need to do that I have not been wanting to do, or maybe been afraid, I don't know, to do, or maybe thinking of other people, so I'm not going to do it. But at this funeral, you know what? This is my turning point. This is my turning point.
But it's crazy because when I left, I had no idea what it was I wanted. I just knew that wasn't it. And it took a couple of years for me to even get to the bike, to the bike thing where I dove into it and realized that this is what it is. I was doing it. I dove in with both feet, but it took a minute for me to realize, no, this is who you are. This is what you've been, moving towards all your life. You just had to get out of the way of yourself.
Yeah, that's something. That's really, I believe that your story is going to, I think it's going to bless a lot of people. I think it's going to bless a lot of people. And you know what? It may even make women look at themselves and their lives and be like, you know what? I need to do something for myself. I need to. Really, you really never know the impact that your story has on someone else. You never know. And one of the things that I do, that whenever I write something, I always tell people at some point, at the end, I think my first two books I put, if you would like, I would love to hear your feedback. That's what I tell them. I would love to hear your feedback, so please feel free to email me to let me know your thoughts on the book or whatever. And some people do it, some people don't. But I received an email from my very first book that I released almost 3 years ago. And when I read that, I was like, it was just out of nowhere. She got my book from my aunt. My aunt had got it for her as a gift, and she reached out to me and she said, oh, it's just helped me so much. And I'm like, wow.
Wow,
God told me to write. I never thought I would write a book ever. I was a reader. I don't write. So to hear how it's impacted somebody, it's like, wow, what I said has impacted someone.
Yeah, you're right, exactly. It made some, somebody else's life.
Exactly. So, and that is what I think this book will do. And God gave it to me because I told you I've been in anthologies. I've been in 3, and the 4th one that I'm in will come out the end of this month. It's called God is Able. But God truly told me, because I had no desire to compile an anthology at all, but he gave me that vision because everybody has a story, number one. Everybody has a story. Everybody's story is different. Even though they may experience similar things, every story is different. But what I wanted to focus on is, while you were going through that, what you wish, look back at it. Look back at what you went through, right? Look back at it, and what do you wish you had known at that time? So I love that. I love that he gave me that, because I don't think I've ever heard of an anthology or a book, period, like that, where you're looking back saying, you know what, while I was going through that, I wish I had known this. I wish I had known this. Right. So I think that I love that part of it. So so do you have any plans to write your own standalone book?
I do. I talk a little bit about the life I had as a biker, or how I became a biker, and in this book, and my next book, I hope to write about my life as a female biker.
Oh, that'll be good. Oh, yeah. That'll be interesting to read. I'll buy it. Look, I'll support. But I think that's great because I think that with anthologies, you're only allotted a certain amount of words, you know.
Right.
And so I think it's like it's a little sample, a little tease that makes people want to learn more.
Yeah, make them a little curious.
Right. It's like, dang, she went through that, and this little bit of words, she told us all this. Imagine what the whole story is.
Exactly. Well, you know what? The thing I think is, that's where my heart is, my passion is, the motorcycle thing. And I think one of the biggest things is that people have this huge misconception about what bikers are. So, I'm interested in telling that story. So,
yeah, I think
it's funny because, we're professional. I told you I'm a registered nurse.
Right.
My boyfriend is a veterinarian. You would never know that by looking at him.
Right. And in addition to that, you're both bikers. Right.
Exactly.
So I would love to, I think that would be a bestseller as well. Just to get, because you're right. People will have their assumption of, oh, she's a biker, so she's this, or he's a biker, so he's that.
Exactly.
So I think that would be great to actually, get kind of not like tell all or get the inside scoop, but just to really be able to understand, I guess.
Yeah, because it's a whole it's a completely different than what most people think. They see leather and and chains.
Right.
So yeah, no.
Now, what I have heard is that it is a community. It's like I've heard that from other people. That
absolutely. Like, this is my family. This is this is my family. I mean, my family is my family too. But no, this is where I fit. This is where I belong.
Right. And I hear that a lot. So I think that is great. I always say that friends are the family that you choose yourself. You can't choose your biological family.
Right.
But your friends, you could those, and sometimes you're closer, quite frankly, to your friends than you are your family. So I always say my friends are the family that I chose myself.
Yeah, definitely.
So what's next for you? You said you are gonna write another book.
I am. I do a little bit of acting as well.
Okay.
So I'm focusing on that as well. Yeah. I'm trying not to say too much because I have confidentiality and stuff.
Okay. Okay, so you're going to write another book and you're focusing on acting. Okay, well, that's good. That's a good thing.
And then, of course, traveling on my bike, that's always at the top of the list.
Right. Absolutely. So tell us about, that time goes really fast. Tell us, tell our listeners how they can reach you if they want to maybe know more about the biker community or anything that you're doing. Maybe to support you, or how they can pre-order the book from you. Tell us that, too.
It's so funny because I forgot to even talk about my group. We have a group of, it's a Facebook group, but we take the group offline, and we have a lot of activities and events and things that we do, a lot of meetups where we actually ride. It's called Men and Women Who Love to Ride Motorcycles. And it's huge, and it's the most fun thing ever. But once we started that group, the founder of the group, his name is Ellis. Okay. And Ellis, he just had this vision of just getting a bunch of bikers together who just had a common interest in riding their motorcycles. And that's what it was. That's what we did. Cross country, a bunch of us just got together, and it just became this big thing. So we have this huge meet and greet every April, so that's coming up. And, I'm pretty excited about that because that's great every year. And then we have little events up and down the East Coast every so often. Like now, it's kind of cold. Ain't nobody on their well, I can't say nobody's on their bike because there are a lot of people who are on their bike. And if I had not had surgery last month, I would probably be on my bike too because the snow is gone now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but anyway, you can find me on Facebook. Jekyll and Hyde is my Facebook name. You can pre-order my book on PayPal. And hold on, I have to find a link because I don't know it by heart. But if you hold on one second, I find it real quick.
Okay.
See, I wasn't prepared. See, I wasn't ready. Man, what is my PayPal link? That's horrible. It is
PayPal me.
Yeah, it's PayPal me. MNWWLRW. That's what it is.
Okay.
It's Men and Women Who Love to Ride.
Oh, okay.
W at the end. It's the first. I know. I'm like, wait a minute. What is it? That's what it is. Men and Women Who Love to Ride, but it's just the first letter of each
word. Okay.
Exactly. I'm like, hold on. Let me say it real slow. So That's horrible. See, I wasn't ready for that question.
Sorry. Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to share with us tonight. It has really been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I wish nothing but success to you. And look forward to you being a best-selling author on Tuesday.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on the show, and even more, I appreciate you allowing me to be a part of your vision, and I'm totally excited about it. Yeah, I keep saying, can you believe I'm going to be an author? I'm going to be a published author.
Yes,
so, it's exciting.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, we're going to go take a break, and when we come back, we'll have our next guest. Be back shortly.
Jesus, my Savior, Lord, there is none like you. All of my days, I want to praise the wonders of your mighty love. My comfort, my shelter, tower of refuge and strength.
Welcome back for the second half of the Beautiful You, Authentic You radio show. I am Irena Tenen. Thank you for tuning in. We had an amazing first half. Amazing. It went by so quick. So now we're up for the second half of the show, and we have another phenomenal guest. Benita, are you with us? We have Benita Spinner that is joining us this evening. Are you with us?
I am. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I can't complain. It's very cold, but, other than that, I can't say anything.
Right, that's true. Can't do nothing about it anyway, so ain't no point. So these last couple of weeks and these next couple of weeks, we are having or featuring co-authors of my anthology that will be releasing on Tuesday, Reflections I Wish I'd Known, and you are another one of our amazing co-authors. So tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, my name is Benita Spinner, and I have a talent management company along with some additional business ventures, and I'm getting into making sure one of the ventures that I have is Empowerment Queens, is where my goal is to empower and uplift as many women as possible. And I thought doing this anthology would be a great start into walking into that platform by sharing a part of myself that was very intimate that maybe could help other women be able to start walking and being okay with, things happen in your life and, you move past it. And I wanted to be able to help somebody through my story.
Right. I think that's great because I think that I don't care how many, that's one of the things that I'm passionate about is inspiring, encouraging, and empowering women. I believe that that's my passion. I love that. I've always been a person in school, the new student no one's talking to. I'm the one that's going to introduce myself to that person. I'm always somebody that's going to make somebody feel comfortable. I want to uplift. I want to encourage. So I think that is great. And I love the name. Did you say Empowerment Queens?
Yes, it's called Empowerment Queens Rule, and I did that because in the area sometimes it's hard. I hear a lot now that I began being an entrepreneur. A lot of women will say, I can't work with this woman, I can't work with women, I can't work with this lady, and you kind of get tired of hearing that. So my goal is to let us know that we're stronger in numbers, right, and that there's nothing that we can't accomplish working together.
Right.
And so that's why I'm trying to start this movement, and part of why I did the anthology. And then I got tired of kind of living in my own mess, and I made a decision a couple of months ago that I was going to start unpacking what I say is baggage. And this was one of the steps in that process, is actually talking about a very traumatic situation that I had in my life, and sharing it. I don't know, I instead of taking a tippy toe, I kind of like jumped into it knee deep. But I felt like, hopefully the story will help somebody else.
So share with us just a little bit about what your story is about.
My story is the overall part of it is, and my mission is about silence. And how silence can hurt, because I've been through molestation and rape, and for the longest time I never spoke about any of that to anybody until recently, which was last year when I started writing the book, and then I kind of started opening up and doing some speaking engagements, but I never really talked about it until now, and I turned 43 not too long ago, a couple of days ago, and these incidents happened when I was maybe 16, 14, between the ages of 14 and 16, and I was extremely angry, made bad decisions, and you just get tired of living in that space. So I made a conscious decision to start trying to unpack it. It's been challenging, but I also think that through the story it'll be able to help other people be okay with telling their story and understanding that it's not their fault, and being able to except that, when you're younger, you don't have all the answers, or older, or whenever your situations may happen to you, but there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Right. And I believe that your story will help many, especially people that, well, young girls, because the book is geared. My vision is for young girls, maybe like 16 and up, maybe 17 and up, and women. That's what the target is for the book. But I believe that people that may have went through what you went through as teenagers don't tell it. Because they're concerned with. Most of them won't tell it during that time as a teenager, but then they grow
Absolutely.
up and then they don't share it as well. So I think that yes, your story will help them. Like, oh, she went through that and she's got all this going on. She made it. She survived, and it happened to her at a young age. So I know I can too. So why do you think that you were ready to release your story right now? This point in time in your life, why right now?
There's a young lady that I've come in contact with, and she's kind of been my inspiration and my pull towards this. She's gone through quite a bit at a young age, and again, silence, never telling, victim shaming, and I wanted to show her, other than just being one of the people that tell her, oh, you can get through it, you can accomplish anything. Sometimes it doesn't seem real unless you can actually touch it. So me telling my story is geared only mainly for her, because I wanted her to know that she's not alone, and that children need to also understand that parents are not so much as a devil as we kind of make them out to be when we're
Right.
teenagers and we're coming up, because my mother would have been there for me had I just told her.
Right.
And I made a choice not to tell her, and I was angry with her for not being there for something that she didn't even know was happening.
Yeah.
And so I want young ladies to know that it's not okay, and that your parents, in the majority of the cases, are going to be there to help and support you through it, and you shouldn't have to go through it alone, because there's so many issues that happen after that I don't think people really think about, and they don't talk about it.
Right. I think that is. I think that that's great as far as having that one person that really kind of inspired you to like tell your story now. Because oftentimes we talk to people and they share with us things that they're going through, and we're like, oh yeah, well this too shall pass, and God doesn't give you more than you can. But we say things like that, but to actually hear from someone that experienced it, that they made it through, I think that'll be very impactful. I think that'll be very, very impactful.
And she's a beautiful young lady, and she's just gone through so much, and I genuinely wanted her to know that I can't tell her to be brave if I'm not going to be brave. I can tell her behind closed doors, but that doesn't mean that it's going to allow her to open up. So I'm hoping when she reads it, that it'll give her the courage to want to, come forward or even start talking about it so that she can get some closure and,
Right.
get some healing. So she's definitely my inspiration behind everything that I'm doing.
Right, and that's what I always tell people. I say when you write, first of all, when you share a story, you're vulnerable because you're opening yourself up for everybody to know.
Mhm.
And then in this case, the stories in this book are very, very, very personal, very detailed, very intimate things that have happened to people that you don't typically share. You don't typically go around telling people this, that, and the other. So I think that is great that you are doing that, and all the authors actually, and I applaud you for being ready at this time in your life to do that, because it's a form of therapy and it's a form of a release,
Mhm.
and you're not allowing the situation to hold you hostage. You're
Absolutely.
letting it go. You're letting it go so that you're free to do and be who God created you to be.
And you know what? I'm excited. I'm also excited to read the rest of the stories, because when, we came to North Carolina and we did the photo shoot, I'm looking at all these beautiful women, and I'm like, what could have possibly,
Right.
and they're all smiley, they're happy. We had a great time networking and fellowshipping. And I'm like, what possibly could have happened to these young ladies that bring us all together? So I'm excited to read the book myself.
Oh yeah, you're going to be surprised. Some of these stories are going to be very. Some of them are similar, but they're still different. You know,
Yes.
some have similar experiences, and then some it's like, oh my God, what? You know, but in me reading them, that's how I'm looking. I'm like, wow, she went through that. She went through that. So that's why, yeah, I can't wait for you guys just to hear your feedback once you read everyone's story. I can't wait for that, just to see, you know, what you think and how you feel. And so what made you want to be a part of this particular collaboration?
Actually, to be honest, I didn't even know I wanted to do this. I mean, writing any of these stories, writing was just not something that was in my thought process. I believe I was led to it. I believe that it was something that God wanted me to do, and that's why it happened the way that it happened, because I was literally sitting at the hairdresser and I seen the ad and I just clicked it, and I'm like, okay, it just felt like it was something that I was supposed to do, the way it happened, the way it fell in my lap, and the way I said it, because there was a point when I started writing I had to stop because it was like opening Pandora's box, and then I was like, maybe I don't want to do this, maybe this is not the right thing for me to do. And I ended up, I did finish, and I did hand it in, and I had it done for probably a week and a half before I actually emailed it.
Okay.
Because I was kind of scared, you know. I felt like I was being vulnerable. I was opening up, you know, for comments, ridicule, criticism. I was opening myself up for that, and that's the main thing that I was concerned about at the time.
Yeah, and I will tell you that you weren't the only one. I had a couple of people come to me and say, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I'm ready to share.
Wow.
I've had more than one come, and I don't think, you know, and then people told me that while they were writing, of course you're reliving it, and nothing that was shared was something you wanted to relive, right? So you're reliving it in tears. You know, I heard people told me I was writing this, and I can't get past this part, and I can't, and they doubt it. You know, should I do it, or, you know, everybody's going to know this. But that's why I was so proud of everybody, because every single person completed their story on time. They completed it no matter how, you know, how much they thought that they couldn't do it or wouldn't do it or waited to the last minute, because I know some people did that too. But they completed it on time, and that's why I believe that this book is going to bless so many people because of all of that went into it. All of that went into it. Now, would this be your first? I can't remember. Will this be your first published work? It will. Okay.
Absolutely. The first time that I talked about it in a public setting this year, the first time I'm writing about it. Pretty much last year, the first time I even had you know, my husband knew what had happened, but, you know, the first time I was able to open up. So it's been very emotional.
Yeah.
And, you know, the moods go up and down because it's hard to kind of go back to that space, especially when you thought you've left it. But then when you're stewing in it, it's like, oh wow, I still have feelings. What do I do with them now?
Right. So I just applaud you for being at a point in your life where, you know what, I'm going to share my story. I'm going to share my story because it makes you selfless. You know, because you could hold on to it forever. I'm not saying, I know what I went through. Don't nobody else need to know. You know, I'm not interested in helping anybody else. I'm just going to, you know, I don't want anybody to know. You know, there's all kind of things that you can think, all kind of things you can go through, you know, but you did it. You completed it. Your story was very touching, very touching. Your story is actually the very first one in the book.
Wow.
Yeah, and no one will probably actually realize it, but It's like I'm reading the stories and I'm like, golly, how I know what order to put them in. I mean, because I had to choose what went first, what went second, what went, I had to choose that. And I was like, I don't know. I didn't even think of that. How to put what, I don't know. So what I did was alphabetical order by first name. So you won, Benita.
I did okay at graduation too. Giddings wasn't so bad when I was named. So my initials kind of helped me out sometimes.
And you know what the thing is, you're setting the tone for what the book, how powerful the book is going to be.
Because I know that just like, woo.
Yeah, but that's good. It's like, wow, the first story like this, oh my God, what the rest of them going to be like, So I personally think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. I'm excited. I'm excited because I believe, first of all, I can't believe that Tuesday's almost here.
I can't either.
God, that's how we've been working on this.
I'm like nervous. I'm very nervous. And I'm looking at the orders. I'm looking at who ordered, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be sending you my book, and you're going to be reading what happened. Then what? And then the conversation after, who was this, what was the name, and just thinking about how you're going to filter through some of the questions, because pretty much what I wrote is all I'm ready to reveal publicly at this point. So, learning how to filter through the questions, not having to answer stuff that I'm really not ready to answer. So
that's what you say.
Yeah.
That's your answer. At this point, what's in the book is all I'm ready to share. That's it. There's your answer. Mm-hmm. Because people, well, who was it? Then especially if it's people that knew you then, went to school or something with you, they're trying to figure out who you dated. So, but it is what it is. It is what it is. The book, that story, too, will be very therapeutic for you, but I also believe the readers as well. And I always ask people, I do ask people, like, how will you feel with people reading your story?
Oh, that's the part that you know how I feel like I would be standing in a room with no clothes, because my whole family has read the book. And then, that first family get together after everybody has received their book and they probably read their chapter. And to be honest, that's a part that I really haven't figured out how I'm going to feel, because I kind of feel a little wheezy about it now.
Right.
Prior to handing in the story, I did allow my mom to read it because I wanted to make sure that she understood and everything was okay with her.
Okay.
So I think that for her, as long as I know that my mom is not offended and she says, Benita, this is good for you, it's good for me, I don't think anybody else could do or say anything that would get me razzled. I think as long as she's fine, I'm okay.
Okay, yeah, because you don't want, that would be terrible. If for anybody, to share a story and then your mother, or your father, like, now why would you say that? Why would you put, because a lot of people, and I shared this on the first half, a lot of people don't share their story because of that, because of what someone else will say, or, well, you got me looking like this. Well, that's my perception. That's my story. That's how I felt my story. They say my perception is my reality. So this is how my story, no one can tell my story like me. Well, I didn't say that, or I didn't. Well, you did, according to, so it's like how a lot of people don't share because of what someone else will say or what someone else will think or what. So I think that, I said that the first half too, that I think that is great that you got to the point where, you know what, this is my story, okay? It's my time to share it right now. It doesn't matter what anybody else says because it's my story. No one lived my story but me. You may have been there during that time in my life, but it's still my story. And if I choose to tell it, then I'm going to tell it, right? And people that know you know that you're not going to deliberately just say things to hurt people. You're telling your story for you and to help other people that may have experienced or may be experiencing same thing.
There was really one particular part that I wrote that I didn't think my mother was aware of, that I was really nervous about. But you got to read the chapter, and
Right.
it'll be a pretty obvious point that it'll pick out that happened to me based on an action that she did. And that was really the only part that I was concerned about, because I didn't think that she knew that, and I didn't want her to feel as if it was her fault.
Right.
So
I remember that part. I remember that part.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So did she?
So that was the. No, we talked, because we went through therapy and stuff when I was younger. So
good.
I didn't remember going through it. And she said she thinks it was so traumatic that I blocked a lot of the stuff out. But it all came out in a therapy session that we had, and I believe she had dealt with it then.
Okay, good. Okay, that's good. That's good. Because I do remember that part. I do remember that. And I could see how, had you not discussed it with her, that could have made her feel like, now, why did she say that? I mean,
Yeah.
So she had to put that part in the book, so.
And it's going to be people questioning her, too. Family will be questioning her.
Oh,
and, she has to be strong enough to answer those questions as well.
Absolutely. That's true. That is so true. So tell us, what's next for you? Are you going to write a standalone book, or what else is in the future are you working on?
So I am working on, because of you and because my passion for making sure, I wanted to give women what you gave me, and it was a sense of freedom. It was a sense of being able to say, okay, this is something else that I accomplished in my life. This is something that I can be proud of. This is something that I did. I accomplished something. I am now going to be an author, and I wanted to give other women that same type of feeling. And what we often don't think of is our choices have consequences. And I'm writing an anthology about after, things that happen after you do things, after traumatic experiences happen in your life, so that I can pass on the blessing that you passed on to me to other women.
Oh, I think that's great. I do. I think that is absolutely amazing. You feel so, like I said, this is the first one I've ever compiled, but it's like, I feel like it was time for me to do it, even though I had no desire to do it previously, but I believe it was truly all God because I had no desire to do it. And just hearing the feedback from you guys, it's like, wow, yes, this was the time for me to do this. The theme of the book, the stories that were shared, I truly believe that God handpicked each one of you, because I had a lot of people wanting to be a part, but I had certain questions that you had to answer, and I was looking for a certain, and I prayed over each person. God was like, if I didn't get a good vibe, and it's funny how you can tell that from a questionnaire. It's really crazy, but I did, and I knew that who I wanted once I read the questions. I was like, yes, okay, yes, okay, yes. So I truly believed that it was all God who handpicked each one of you. I even gave up my spot because God placed somebody in my spirit that I didn't even know, who's one of the co-authors. I never knew anything about this person until she filled out the questionnaire. And God kept placing her name in my spirit after she filled it out. And I was like, well, Lord, it's only
Jimmy good. He is amazing.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't know that this is something that I wanted to do. I didn't know that. I knew that I always wanted to be. Hidden Figures also did it for me. That movie was amazing.
Yeah.
How those women stuck together. They looked out for each other, and somehow we lost that. And I want that feeling. I want to be a part of that. I don't ever remember feeling like that. I'm like, those women really stood by each other. They fought for each other. And I would love to be a part of something like that. And I would love to see that in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I don't think that my generation they don't understand that type of loyalty. And
right.
I really want to go down that path. I really want us as women to be empowered and stand together and work together, and it doesn't always have to be messy.
You know, and one of the things that I heard, I was on a conference call yesterday, and the lady was talking about how, you know, just like you said, a lot of women feel like, you know, if she's in the same industry that because if I was that type of person, I'd be like, why is she sitting up here doing an anthology after she was just on mine? I don't care that you're doing an anthology. I think that's great. You're you know, you're offering a platform for women to share their story. I think that is amazing. But there's people that's like, you know, why is she doing what I'm doing? Well, or if she speaks and if she's a inspirational or motivational speaker, well, I don't think I want to, collaborate or anything with her. But what people don't realize is that when you collaborate, it's so much more powerful when you put all those gifts together. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. We should collaborate and do things together. Stop trying to compete with this person and that person and this person and that person. That's never been me and in my nature. I've never even been competitive, really. I really care less what anybody else is doing, but I love working together. I love networking. I love meeting people. So I want to thank you for being a part of this collaboration. Before we go, tell the people how they can reach you, how they can pre-order the book from you.
Yes, all you have to do is go to benitaspinner.com, VENITASPINNER, and you can find all my social media handles, everything, all the information, any speaking engagements, any upcoming events there. And you can also purchase the book there as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Benita, for taking time out of your schedule to share with us tonight. I really, really greatly appreciate it. It's been a pleasure talking to you and hearing more about your story and about the things that you have upcoming. I will be supporting your anthology.
Thank
I
you.
can't wait to read it. Absolutely, absolutely. So I just want to thank you again for taking the time to come and share with us tonight.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You do.
Thank you all for all your listeners, too.
All right, everybody, thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Beautiful You, Authentic You radio show. We will come back again next week, same time, same channel. See you then, and have an amazing, amazing week.